My name is Jacob Hartwell, and I should have listened to the warnings. I should have turned around the moment I heard the stories about the Pensacola Lighthouse. But desperation makes fools of us all, and I needed the job as night security guard more than I needed my peace of mind. The lighthouse stands 150 feet tall on the Santa Rosa Island, a white sentinel against the Gulf Coast's endless horizon. Built in 1859, it has weathered countless storms, both natural and supernatural. The locals warned me about the spirits that never left their posts, about the keeper who fell to his death, about the children's laughter that echoes through empty rooms. I dismissed their tales as folklore meant to scare tourists. I was wrong. Dead wrong. The first night. October 15th. My first shift began at sunset. The autumn air carried a chill that seemed to seep through my jacket and settle in my bones. Mrs. Henderson, the day manager, handed me the keys with trembling fingers. "Lock everything tight," she whispered, avoiding my eyes. "Don't go up to the lamp room after midnight. And whatever you do, don't answer if someone calls your name from inside the lighthouse when you're outside, or from outside when you're inside." I laughed it off. "Come on, Mrs. Henderson. You don't actually believe. Just follow the rules, Jacob." Her voice carried a weight that silenced my skepticism. The lighthouse has its own way of dealing with those who don't. She left me alone as darkness swallowed the island. The lighthouse beam swept across the water in its eternal rotation, casting moving shadows that seemed to writhe and dance. I settled into the small security office at the base, armed with nothing but a flashlight, a radio, and my rapidly diminishing confidence. The first hour passed quietly. I made my rounds, checking the gift shop, the museum displays, and the base of the lighthouse. Everything seemed normal until I reached the spiral staircase that led to the top. Thud. 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 Heavy footsteps echoed from above, slow and deliberate, as if someone wearing boots was walking across the lamp room floor. I grabbed my radio. "Base to patrol, I've got someone in the lighthouse. Requesting backup." Static crackled back. "Patrol to base, there's no one scheduled to be there tonight. Must be the wind. Wind doesn't wear boots." I started up the spiral staircase, my flashlight beam dancing ahead of me. The 177 steps seemed to stretch endlessly upward, each footfall echoing off the curved walls like a gunshot. Halfway up, the footsteps above me stopped. I paused, listening. Silence pressed against my eardrums like cotton. Then, from somewhere above, came the sound of whistling, a melancholy tune I couldn't place, but it made my skin crawl. "Hello?" I called out. "Security. Identify yourself." The whistling stopped. In its place came a voice, deep and weathered, carrying the accent of the Old South. "Ain't no need for introductions, boy. I been keepin' this light longer than you've been breathin'." I should have turned around. Every instinct screamed at me to run, but I continued climbing. At the 150th step, my flashlight flickered and died. The darkness above seemed to press down on me like a living thing. I fumbled for my backup light, and when the beam cut through the blackness, I saw him. A man in a keeper's uniform from the 1800s stood at the top of the stairs, his face gaunt and pale as moonlight. His eyes were holes of absolute darkness, and when he smiled, I could see that his teeth were stained with what looked like rust. "Welcome to my lighthouse, Jacob," he said, and I realized I had never told anyone my first name. I stumbled backward, nearly falling down the stairs. When I looked up again, he was gone, but his laughter followed me all the way down, a sound like wind through a graveyard. The second night. I should have quit. Any sane person would have walked away and never looked back. But I needed the money, and I convinced myself it was just stress and fatigue playing tricks on my mind. Besides, what's the worst that could happen? I would soon find out. October 16th brought rain and an unseasonable cold front. The lighthouse seemed to absorb the gloom, its white walls appearing gray and sickly in the dim light. I arrived early, hoping to speak with Mrs. Henderson about the previous night, but she had already left. The maintenance logbook sat open on the desk. I flipped through the pages, looking for any mention of the keeper I'd seen. What I found made my blood run cold. Jeremiah Wicks, lighthouse keeper, 1859 to 1872. Fell from lamp room during storm. Body never recovered. Locals report sightings continue to this day. Below that, in different handwriting. Night guards report footsteps, voices, and whistling. 3 resignations this month. Recommend increasing pay to attract replacements. As darkness fell, I made my first round. The museum displays seemed different somehow, the mannequins' eyes following me as I passed, their painted smiles appearing more sinister in the flashlight beam. The gift shop felt wrong too, as if the souvenir lighthouses on the shelves were tiny watchtowers, each one observing my every move. I was checking the locks on the front door when I heard it, children's laughter, bright and musical, coming from the top of the lighthouse. According to the historical records, no children had ever died at the lighthouse. So why did their ghostly voices fill the night air with such innocent joy? The laughter grew louder, joined by the sound of running feet on the spiral staircase. I could hear them clearly now, at least 3 children, maybe more, playing some sort of game. Their voices echoed down the tower. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Ready or not, here we come. Hide and seek. They were playing hide and seek in my lighthouse. I grabbed my radio. Base to patrol, I need backup immediately. There are children in the lighthouse. Patrol to base, that's impossible. The building is secured. I can hear them. They're playing upstairs. Jacob, son, there ain't no children been in that lighthouse for over 100 years. The radio went silent. Above me, the children's laughter had stopped, replaced by something far worse, the sound of crying. Not the tears of scared children, but the wailing of something that had been lost for far too long. I started up the stairs again, driven by a compulsion I couldn't explain. With each step, the crying grew louder, more desperate. By the time I reached the halfway point, I could make out words between the sobs. We can't find him. We can't find the keeper. He's supposed to light the lamp. On the 100th step, my flashlight beam caught something that made me stop cold. Small handprints covered the curved wall, pressed into the stone as if the rock had been soft clay. But these weren't normal handprints, they were stained dark red, and they were everywhere, leading up the stairs like a macabre roadmap. The crying stopped. Jacob. A child's voice, sweet and innocent. Will you play with us? I looked up and saw them, 3 children in old-fashioned clothing, their faces pale as porcelain. A girl in a white dress, a boy in knickers and suspenders, and a smaller child whose gender I couldn't determine. They stood at the top of the staircase, their eyes reflecting my flashlight beam like mirrors. We've been waiting so long for someone to play with, the girl said. The keeper promised he'd come back, but he never did. Where is he? I heard myself ask. The smallest child pointed toward the lamp room. He's up there. He's always up there. But he won't talk to us anymore. He just walks and walks and walks. As if summoned by their words, the heavy footsteps began again, directly above us. Thud. 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 Steady as a metronome, eternal as the tide. Will you make him come down? The boy asked. We miss him. I backed down the stairs, my heart hammering against my ribs. I have to go. I have to finish my rounds. But we want to play. The girl's voice rose to a shriek that echoed through the lighthouse like a siren. You can't leave us alone again. I ran. God help me, I ran down those stairs like the devil himself was chasing me, and maybe he was. Behind me, the children's cries turned to something inhuman, a keening wail that seemed to shake the very foundations of the lighthouse. I didn't stop running until I reached the security office, where I locked the door and sat with my back against it, breathing hard and trying to convince myself I was losing my mind. The third night. October 17th. I arrived at work to find a note from Mrs. Henderson. Jacob, I've received reports about disturbances at the lighthouse. Please remember that your job is to observe and report, not to investigate. Stay in the office after dark unless absolutely necessary. The lighthouse has been here for over 160 years. It will outlast all of us. The implication was clear, don't go upstairs. But as the night wore on, staying in the office became impossible. The sounds from above grew more intense with each passing hour. Footsteps, Voices, laughter, crying, it was as if the entire history of the lighthouse was playing out simultaneously above my head. At 11:47 p.m., the sound stopped. The silence was somehow worse than the noise. It pressed against my eardrums like deep water, heavy and suffocating. I sat in that office, staring at the ceiling, waiting for something to break the unbearable quiet. That's when I heard my name. Jacob. The voice came from everywhere and nowhere, seeming to emanate from the walls themselves. Jacob, come up here. It was Jeremiah Wicks, the dead keeper. I was sure of it. Jacob, I need to show you something. I tried to ignore it, but the voice grew more insistent, more demanding. It began to repeat my name like a chant, over and over, until the sound filled my head and I couldn't think of anything else. Jacob. 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 I stumbled out of the office and found myself at the base of the spiral staircase. Above me, a soft golden light flickered, the first light I'd seen from the lamp room since I'd started working here. Come up, Jacob. The light needs tending. My feet began to move of their own accord. Step by step, I climbed the spiral staircase, drawn by that hypnotic light and the keeper's voice. The children were there too, standing on the steps like a reception committee, their eyes glowing in the darkness. He's coming, the girl whispered as I passed. The keeper is coming down. No, the boy said, shaking his head sadly. The keeper never comes down. He can't leave the light. I reached the lamp room and found Jeremiah Wicks standing at the great lens, his back to me. The Fresnel lens cast prismatic rainbows across the walls, beautiful and terrifying in equal measure. Do you know why I fell, Jacob? He asked without turning around. No, sir. I didn't fall. He turned, and I saw that half his face was caved in, as if he'd struck something hard. Blood seeped from the wound, fresh as the day he died. I was pushed. Pushed? By who? By them. He gestured to the shadows that seemed to move and writhe around the edges of the room. The others who came before me. The keepers who died here, who never left. They didn't want competition. I began to back toward the stairs, but the children were there, blocking my way. You see, Jacob, this lighthouse. It collects us. Every keeper, every worker, every soul who tends this light becomes part of it. We can never leave. The shadows pressed closer, and I could see them now, dozens of figures in various states of decay and preservation. Lighthouse keepers from different eras, maintenance workers, even what looked like shipwrecked sailors who had crawled ashore only to die on this island. And now you're here, Wicks continued. A new keeper for our collection. I'm not a keeper, I protested. I'm just security. I'm just. You climbed the stairs, he said simply. You heard the call and you answered. That makes you one of us. The lens began to spin faster, the light growing brighter and more intense. The shadows reached for me with grasping fingers, and I could feel their cold touch through my clothes. Welcome to the Eternal Watch, Jacob Hartwell. I screamed and threw myself down the staircase, tumbling and rolling, feeling bones crack and muscles tear. Behind me, the laughter of the dead echoed off the walls, not just the children now, but dozens of voices, all laughing at the newest addition to their ghostly ranks. I crawled out of the lighthouse, blood streaming from a dozen wounds, and made it to my car just as the sun began to rise. The last day. I quit that morning. Walked into Mrs. Henderson's office with my uniform shirt torn and bloody, threw the keys on her desk, and told her I was done. She looked at me with something that might have been pity. You went up there, didn't you? I nodded, not trusting my voice. They always do, she sighed. No matter how many warnings we give, they always go up there eventually. How many? I asked. How many what? How many night guards have you lost? She was quiet for a long moment. You're the 7th this year to make it up the stairs. The others. Well, the others didn't make it back down. I left Pensacola that afternoon, but I should have known it wouldn't be that easy. You can't just walk away from a place like that. It follows you. The following. That was 3 months ago. I've moved twice since then, but it doesn't matter. Every night at 11:47, I hear his voice calling my name. Every night, I see the children standing at the foot of my bed, asking me to come back and play. And every night, the pull gets stronger. I've done research, hoping to find a way to break the connection. The Pensacola Lighthouse has one of the highest suicide rates of any lighthouse in America. Workers throwing themselves from the lamp room, drowning themselves in the Gulf, hanging themselves in the gift shop after hours. But I know the truth now. They didn't kill themselves. They were called home. The lighthouse doesn't just guide ships to safety, it collects souls, adding them to its eternal crew. And once you've heard the call, once you've climbed those stairs and looked into Jeremiah Wick's ruined face, you belong to it forever. Last night, I caught myself putting on my shoes at 11:45 p.m. I was halfway to my car before I realized what I was doing. The pull is getting stronger. Soon, I won't be able to resist it. I'm writing this as a warning to whoever finds it. If you're offered a job at the Pensacola Lighthouse, any job, turn it down. If you visit as a tourist, don't linger after dark. And if you hear someone calling your name from that tall white tower, run. Run and don't look back, because the keepers are always looking for new souls to join their watch. I can hear them now, whispering my name through the walls. The children are laughing in my kitchen. Jeremiah Wicks is standing in my hallway, beckoning me home. The lighthouse beam sweeps across my bedroom wall, impossible though that may be, I'm hundreds of miles away now. But distance doesn't matter. Once the lighthouse has marked you, geography becomes meaningless. They're waiting for me, all of them. The eternal keepers of the Pensacola Light, standing at their posts in death as they did in life. And I'm going home. God forgive me, I'm going home. Found among the personal effects of Jacob Hartwell, discovered in his abandoned apartment in Birmingham, Alabama. Mr. Hartwell's current whereabouts are unknown. His car was found in the parking lot of the Pensacola Lighthouse 3 days after this account was written. Security cameras show him walking toward the lighthouse at 11:47 p.m. He has not been seen since. The Pensacola Lighthouse remains open to tourists during daylight hours. Night security positions continue to be posted on a regular basis. Interested applicants should contact the Gulf Islands National Seashore for more information. No experience necessary. Hey everyone, thanks so much for listening. If you enjoyed the video, please hit that like and subscribe button, and then share it with your friends. Your support helps us grow and create even more awesome content. We appreciate you being part of the journey.